You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications.
What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage from April 29th, 2022. I'm going to be honest with you guys, overall, out of the two shows, Rampage was 100% the better show. SmackDown, for the past couple of weeks, man, has been absolutely atrocious, even before WrestleMania, man. SmackDown as a show absolutely just sucked. I mean, really, WWE programming in general has really not been interesting whatsoever. The only things I'm really interested in on WWE programming is Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, and basically that is it, and possibly Roman Reigns, but we don't even got an opponent for Roman Reigns. And by the way, they did change the tag team unification match. I don't even know if there's even going to be a tag team unification match at Backlash, but we're going to be talking about that later on in the review. Rampage, on the other hand, was actually a really good show. I enjoyed what I saw on Rampage. We had a lot of great matches. We had Trent Beretta versus Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. We had a qualifying match for the Owen Hart Cup tournament with Darby Allin going up against Swerve Strickland. So we got a lot of things to talk about right here on the SmackDown and Rampage review. But before I get on with the SmackDown and Rampage review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the Broken Referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Broken Havoc podcast is now available on audio platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out the Broken Havoc podcast on those audio platforms, it is available right there. All right, let's talk about SmackDown first. Overall, I thought SmackDown was not really that good of a show. To be quite honest with you, it was really a boring show. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely just wasn't interested at all in this show whatsoever. Really, we had Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre for like the upteenth time. If you guys don't know the storyline, basically Sami Zayn has been ducking Drew McIntyre for the past couple of weeks. So in this case, now we got a steel cage match. So I believe it was like for the first 2 weeks, Sami Zayn just, escaped Drew McIntyre via countout, basically lost via countout. Then the next week, it was a freaking lumberjack match in which he still somehow escaped for some reason. And I don't even remember who won that match. I don't think anybody won that match, to be quite honest with you. I don't even remember what the hell happened on last week's show. And, of course, we have the steel cage match between Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, which actually, I'm not going to lie, was not a bad steel cage match. And WWE, to be honest, they're not, when it comes to steel cage matches, WWE's steel cage matches are not really important. AEW, when you watch AEW programming and they do somewhat of a steel cage match, I mean, there was only 3 steel cage matches. I'm not counting the blood and guts match, but there was only 3 steel cage matches in AEW history. Cody versus Wardlow on Dynamite in Atlanta. We had the amazing match between Phoenix and the Young Bucks, and we also had Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. Those steel cage matches were absolutely important. Like, they definitely built up to those cage matches. Not only that, they just felt more important, and you saw it via the presentation. When it comes to a WWE steel cage match, it's just there for the sake of being there, in my opinion. Like, I genuinely do not, sense any importance at all when it comes to a steel cage match. But we did have Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre inside of a steel cage. Overall, not a bad opening match to kick off the show, but again, was I really invested in it? Not really. Drew basically slams the door shut. Oh yeah, and by the way, Drew Gulak is the timekeeper, so he had multiple different jobs. I don't know what the hell they're doing with Drew Gulak as of late, but it's really weird what they're doing with Drew Gulak. He really comes into play, especially with the Charlotte and Ronda Rousey feud, which that is a whole clusterfuck in itself. But, Drew slams the door shut, and Drew Gulak is the timekeeper. Sami then tries to climb the cage, but Drew takes him down. Sami Zayn does multiple attempts at escaping the cage. Sami gets taken down into the corner. Drew works on Sami. We got a couple of chops on Sami into the corner. Drew then sends Sami into the cage face first after that. Then Sami gets sent to the other side of the cage. He sends Sami again, but this time Sami actually manages to climb the cage. Then we get a shot to the back of Sammy. Drew then goes to the top, but then Sammy drives the head of Drew to the cage multiple times, I should say. We get a sunset flip powerbomb, which looked awesome by Sami Zayn. Once we're back from commercial break, then Sammy drives the face of Drew on the cage multiple times again. Then Drew then faces off with Sammy. He throws Sammy headfirst into the cage. Then Sammy ducks and then sends Drew to the cage. Then Sammy then hits the haluva kick, and then he climbs up. But then Drew also climbs up. He proceeds to grab Sami Zayn and bounces Sammy off on the cage headfirst, knocking Sammy down. We get a kick by Sammy, and then Drew consistently sends Sammy to the cage. We get a belly-to-belly throw then after that by Drew McIntyre. He proceeds to hit the neck breaker, and then he sets up the Claymore kick. He's about to hit the Claymore kick, but Sammy proceeds to climb up the cage once again. Then Sammy hits multiple kicks. Drew then gets taken to the top rope. Then Drew gets taken down. Sammy climbs up. Then Sammy's on the outer portion of the cage. Then Drew takes Sammy, and he hits a beautiful superplex on Sami Zayn. And then Drew proceeds to hit his one and only Claymore kick. We get a cover, and Drew McIntyre gets the win. Overall, this was not a bad opening match to start off SmackDown, to be quite honest with you. You know, this is like the 5th time we've seen Drew McIntyre take on Sami Zayn. And, you know, for the majority of those matches, Sami Zayn basically escaped. But overall, hopefully this can put an end to this dumbass feud between Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre because, you know, as of right now, you know, Drew McIntyre is slated in a 6-man tag team match at WrestleMania Backlash. It's no longer going to be a unification match as far as I'm concerned, which is really baffling in my opinion. I think that's going to be the case, but I'll talk about that later on the review. We get a backstage interview with Miss Creative Control herself, Charlotte Flair, the SmackDown Women's Champion. Says that, you know, she didn't get humiliated and she gets worshipped. And says that, you know, says when she says, when Ronda says I quit, Ronda may never step into the ring again. And she said that she will beat Ronda in the Beat the Clock Challenge. If you guys do not know, and the main event is basically a Beat the Clock Challenge. So Charlotte faces somebody. I believe she faced Aaliyah, and Ronda faces Shotzi Blackheart, and then they have this Beat the Clock Challenge. Honestly, you know, out of all people, no disrespect to Aaliyah and Shotzi Blackheart, but like of all people, you choose those people to face those Charlotte and Ronda for the Beat the Clock Challenge. I mean, that's kind of dumb in my opinion. But, yeah, man, she says after that she may even quit before WrestleMania Backlash. This whole feud between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair has been absolutely uninteresting whatsoever. I don't care what anybody says. This whole thing has been nothing just but garbage. I don't care. You know, and the match at WrestleMania I thought wasn't as bad. In my opinion, I thought it wasn't as bad. But, again, you know, the feud itself, like just the whole feud is just pure garbage. That's just me. Here's some more terrible television. We got Happy Corbin with his talk show, Happy Talk. Yes, Happy Talk. And who is the guest? Who is the guest on Happy Talk? His guest on Happy Talk is none other than Madcap Moss's Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. Because last week, Corbin actually stole his trophy, which, why would you steal his trophy? You already won it. But he says that this is the new and improved Happy Talk. There's nothing has changed. Says that nothing dragged this show down than Madcap Moss's awful jokes, and says that he never found them funny. Yes, so has the viewer. Madcap Moss is still living off his Andre the Giant Battle Royal win, and he says that he made him and shaped him into the man that he is today. It says that everything he touches turns to gold, which is a line from Chris Jericho. Everything that Chris Jericho touches turns to gold. Not really Baron Corbin. But he welcomes his guest, which is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy that he stole last week. Corbin says that he can't wait to see Moss's face when he sees his accomplishment smashed into pieces. And he asks for a sledgehammer. Then Madcap Moss is behind Corbin, disguised as the person that brought the trophy in. And what happens? He proceeds to attack Baron Corbin, and then he spears Corbin into the corner, and then he sends Corbin shoulder first into the ring post. And Madcap Moss stands tall. And yeah, what are my thoughts? You know, it was kind of, I don't want to say unexpected that Baron Corbin, or I should say Happy Corbin, bro. Happy Corbin, Baron Corbin, same person. And Madcap Moss split. And, you know, this would possibly, I think it will eventually lead to a match at Backlash, which Madcap Moss would most likely get the win. And he's going to be going off on a singles run. But honestly, I'm not, again, this is something that I'm just not as interested in, to be quite honest with you. It's just just terrible. Like this whole thing with Happy Corbin has absolutely sucked. I can't lie to you, man. I want to see bum ass Baron Corbin back. Like bum ass Baron Corbin is the best version of Baron Corbin in my opinion. Like modern Baron Corbin I'm talking about. All right. We got Ricochet versus Shanky for the IC Championship. Yes, Ricochet is defending his IC Championship. Overall, this was not a long match. It was not even a short match. Last week, Jinder Mahal went backstage. So, like, for the past couple of weeks on SmackDown, you had Ricochet in these backstage segments with Aaliyah. Basically, like, Aaliyah putting over Ricochet, and then Ricochet just cutting these scripted-ass promos. Nothing against Ricochet, but, like, that was just really weird. And what happened last week was Jinder Mahal and Shanky came in, and Jinder Mahal basically said I should get a title shot and all that stuff. But instead, Shanky wanted to challenge Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championships. Thus, we got this match this week. The match starts. Shanky goes for a shot to the back on Ricochet. We got a couple of right hands by Shanky into the corner. We get an overhand chop by Shanky in the corner. And then he drives the elbow into the corner. He continues to be in control over Ricochet. He proceeds to hit an elbow drop after that. We get a cover by Shanky and a near fall. We get repeated kicks by Shanky. Ricochet then hits a beautiful enziguri after that. He goes to the top, but then gets taken down by Shanky. And then he hits a right hand on Ricochet. Then Shanky hits an elbow drop, but misses. We get a springboard crossbody by Ricochet and a near fall. Then after that, Ricochet goes for a spear into the corner, but then goes to the top. But then Jinder takes him down without the referee looking after that. Then Shanky picks up Ricochet, and then Ricochet escapes into a roll-up. Ricochet retains the Intercontinental Championship. Overall thoughts on this match? Again, a short match, really not that important. Jinder Mahal after that is pissed, so I wouldn't be surprised if they booked Ricochet versus Jinder Mahal for the Intercontinental Championship next week. Hopefully Jinder Mahal does not win. I mean, hopefully Jinder Mahal, doesn't win. Like, I hope he doesn't win. We got Raquel Rodriguez, aka Raquel Gonzalez. That's how I know her of Raquel Gonzalez backstage. Says that she is nervous and she's full of butterflies, and says that she's gonna put on a show that no one will forget. And then it was so funny when Raquel Rodriguez was coming in the ring, the graphic says Raquel Ravishes up next, which was so funny and cringe. I'm like, really? That's the best you got for whatever. So they were like Raquel Ravishes up next on SmackDown, but whatever. So we got Raquel Rodriguez versus Kat Cardoza, who, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe she was also a jobber on AEW as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we got Kat Cardoza versus Raquel Rodriguez. Again, match short. This was just an enhancement match just for Raquel to get some wins. Cardoza goes for a kick. We got a couple of rights and lefts to the back. The bell officially rings. So actually, Cardoza proceeded to attack Raquel Rodriguez. Why? Before the match even started. And during the match, Cardoza got a bunch of offense. Not a lot of offense, but she got offense in the match, which was really weird. Raquel proceeds to hit a clothesline, and then she picks up Cardoza, hits a shoulder tackle, and then sends Cardoza into the corner. She proceeds to hit a fallaway slam, then hits another. She goes to the top and hits a spinning elbow from the second rope. Cardoza goes for a running knee, and then she continues to work on Raquel. Then Raquel counters a pump kick. Raquel then hits the Chineta. I don't even know what that was. The Cinera bomb. Correct me if I'm wrong. My apologies. I did not know what that move called. What Michael Cole even stated on commentary. But we get a cover, and Raquel Rodriguez wins the match. Again, this was just for Raquel Rodriguez to get a couple of wins. Where do I see her going forward, honestly? I mean, they changed her name from Raquel Gonzalez to Raquel Rodriguez, and I really haven't seen a lot. I know she's a former NXT Women's Champion, but really, I do not watch NXT because I believe there's no purpose for me to watch NXT, honestly. But, yeah, man, do I think she's going to be successful in the main roster? Honestly, I genuinely believe so. We'll just have to wait and see how they book her. Gunther is backstage with Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig basically puts him over and says that, and Gunther proceeds to say that respect will be taken. All right, we got the contract signing between RK Bro and the Usos. Overall, I've been enjoying the whole RK Bro and the Usos thing. But one of my biggest gripes with the entire feud was the fact that we keep on getting this. This is not the case with just this feud. This always happens in any different feud when it regards to tag teams. For example, if we get Alpha Academy, we got Alpha Academy versus RK Bro, right? You know, one week we got Randy Orton versus Chad Gable, and then the next week we got Randy Orton versus Otis, and then the next week we got Riddle versus Chad Gable, and then the next week we got, you know, Riddle versus Otis. Like, this is basically the same thing with RK Bro and the Usos. Like, honestly, to me, like, I hate that style of booking. It kind of like devalues the interest in my eyes because of the fact that we're basically seeing portions of the match that we're going to be seeing at Backlash throughout the span of a couple of weeks. But yeah, man. Overall, though, I'm not gonna lie. I think, you know, unifying the tag team titles is the right decision to make, mainly because of the fact that the tag team division is absolutely atrocious in WWE. Because, like, basically, you know, the majority of their tag teams are makeshift tag teams. Even RK Bro. But RK Bro got so over that they were about to split them up, but they actually did not, which is the good decision to make because, in my opinion, RK Bro is absolutely fantastic. But, like, besides the Usos and the Viking Raiders, what real tag teams are on the roster? Los Lotharios, to me, that's not a real tag team because that is a makeshift tag team. And don't even get me started with the women's tag team championships. But, Jimmy gets the mic and says that they got nothing to prove to Randy and Riddle because everybody knows that they're the twos and the Usos are the ones because the Bloodline will be draped in all the gold. Then after WrestleMania Backlash, they're going to have new luggages and RK Bro are going to have to do a whole lot of acknowledging. Riddle then can't tell the Usos apart from each other. You know, Riddle does his typical Riddle high promo. And then after that, Randy says that he's never had a problem telling Jay that he is the right-hand man. And Jimmy is nothing more than a little bitch. And then Jimmy goes straight for... As soon as Jimmy heard that, he went straight for the attack on Randy. A brawl proceeds to break loose. And what happens? Roman's music plays, and he comes out, and the Usos then attack RK Bro from behind. Jimmy proceeds to hit a super kick on Randy Orton. Then the Usos hit the 1D, the one and done on Riddle. Then after that, Roman then takes the contract and rips it up and shoves it to the face and the mouth of Riddle after that. Then what happens? Drew McIntyre comes out. Yes, Drew McIntyre comes out, the guy that just beat Sami Zayn inside of a steel cage earlier in the night. He takes out the Usos. He goes in the ring. Both Drew and Roman brawl. Then Drew hits a belly-to-belly throw on Roman, sending Roman straight to the outside, and Drew McIntyre and RK Bro are left standing in the ring. So, yeah, man, we basically got a tease for Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns in the near future because there's a lot of rumors right now that Drew McIntyre could possibly be the guy, one of the guys, to take basically Roman Reigns, you know, one of his titles. A lot of people are saying, you know, it's best fit for Drew McIntyre to take either the WWE or Universal Championships off of Roman Reigns in that UK show. I believe it's called Clash at the Castle, which is not really that good of a name. I would have had a much better name than that, but they're going to be having a UK stadium show, and that's going to be a big, big, big deal because the crowd in the UK is one of the most passionate crowds in all of pro wrestling. But, you know, they're going to have a UK show in the UK, and you know, Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns is not a bad idea. But you know, I genuinely still believe that Cody Rhodes is the guy because I feel like Cody Rhodes is still the guy that's like at the level of a Roman Reigns. Everybody else not really. But you know, where does this lead to? We'll have to wait and see. But after that, Adam Pearce is backstage. Paul Heyman then comes in. Says that Roman Reigns is not very happy. Paul Heyman wants a slight change at Backlash. RK Bro and Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns and the Usos. Adam then says that the titles are on the line and he can't change that. But then Paul says that he can go to the board of the directors and he can change that. And Paul says that he can make the match and he will assure that Adam will make the match. So, yeah, it's official. We got Roman Reigns and the Usos taking on RK Bro versus Drew McIntyre. All right. On paper, this is not a bad idea, but let's be 100% honest here. We do not even know if the titles are on the line. And if the titles are not on the line, that is a bad thing. Because, like, to me, like, you for the past couple of weeks, you guys have been teasing, not even teasing, building up to a unification match at Backlash. Meanwhile, a brawl breaks loose on a random SmackDown, and now you immediately change the match on the pay-per-view. I mean, to me, that makes absolutely no sense. Why the hell would you do that? But maybe they'll explain it in the next week because WrestleMania Backlash is next week. And hopefully they explain that, you know, this match is still a title unification because there are many instances in which a world title has been on the line in a tag team match. I mean, TNA did that shit a lot, and even WCW as well. But the tag team championships hopefully are on the line in this case, but I doubt that they are, mainly because we're dealing with WWE right here, and they never deal with logic whatsoever. They never use logic at all. They just never do. We got Naomi versus Shayna Baszler in a short match. I believe Naomi and Sasha Banks will be defending their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania Backlash against Shayna Baszler and Natalya, in which Natalya and Shayna Baszler are a random makeshift tag team that has no explanation whatsoever. But both lock up. We get a waistlock takedown by Shayna Baszler. Naomi escapes. She hits an enziguri on Shayna. Naomi then goes for the split leg drop. We got a cover into near fall. Shayna then hits a German suplex. Shayna then sends Naomi into the corner. She hits a couple of body shots. Naomi then escapes. She hits a kick into Shayna's face. Then Shayna goes for a couple of back elbows. Then she applies a sleeper hold, and then Naomi escapes. Then Shayna goes for a waistlock, but then gets sent into the corner. We get a roll-up by Naomi, and Naomi wins the match. But Natalya goes straight for the attack on Naomi. Sasha Banks enters the fray and takes her to the outside. She tries to hit a baseball slide, but then gets caught by Natalya, which leads to Natalya to hit, or apply, I should say, a sharpshooter on Sasha Banks onto the apron. Meanwhile, at the same time, you had Shayna Baszler plant Naomi straight to the mat and then stomps the arm of Naomi. So, hey man, we're gonna be getting Sasha Banks and Naomi taking on Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Who do I see winning? Honestly, I genuinely see Naomi and Sasha Banks retaining. I mean, they're gonna have a lengthy title reign. Let's be honest. But to me, having Shayna Baszler and Natalya as a makeshift tag team, I mean, I'm not really as interested. Mainly because of the fact that we know the potential that Shayna Baszler has. And she already should be put in the main event scene, but instead WWE keeps putting her in these absolutely terrible predicaments, which is absolutely terrible. All right. Here's one match, or two matches, I should say, that I really did not care about. We had Rich Holland versus Xavier Woods, which that match ended and led to Kofi Kingston versus Sheamus. So you guys know me, man. I absolutely hate that style of booking. One match happens and then, a brawl breaks loose and then we go to commercial break. And then once we're back from commercial break, we have another match. I hate that. It's so lazy and it drives me absolutely crazy. But we got Rich Holland versus Xavier Woods. How many freaking times have we seen this match? I could have sworn we saw this match already. Rematch-a-mania, as I love stating on this podcast, is running wild, ladies and gentlemen. Holland is in control. We got a slam by Holland. We got a couple of chops by Woods. Holland with a couple of shots to the back of Woods. Holland then runs into the post, shoulder first. Woods is on the outside and hits a beautiful tornado DDT. Once we're back from commercial break, Woods goes to the top. Holland then ducks, and out of nowhere, Holland hits a beautiful back body drop. Then Holland is in control. Woods hits a sunset flip. He proceeds to hit a chop. We get a headbutt by Holland. Then Holland applies a side shinlock. Woods proceeds to escape after that. We get a couple of chops and rights by Woods. Holland then counters the rolling elbow by Woods and hits a spine buster. Then we get a cover engineer fall. Woods then counters the powerbomb into an inside cradle for the win. Sheamus then cuts a promo. At this point, he is pissed, and he challenges Kofi Kingston to a match. So then after that, we go to commercial break, and we got Kofi Kingston versus Sheamus. Again, absolutely lazy booking. I do not know why they do that all the time. It's just, it's just, bro, like, if you're, like, already tired of seeing something on your television set and you go to commercial break expecting something different, but then you get the same shit, like, I hate that. To me, that's just, again, lazy and just absolutely dumb. And to me, it just, I don't know. How do I explain it? It's just, it pisses off the viewer. That's what it does. It just pisses off the viewer. But we got Kofi Kingston versus Sheamus. He takes out Sheamus onto the outside. Kofi goes to the top. Kofi hits a trust fall on Sheamus off the top onto the outside. Sheamus then is in control back in the ring. Kofi Kingston then goes for a roll-up, and we get a near fall. Sheamus then runs shoulder first to the ring post after that. Kofi then drops Sheamus off the top. He hits a Irish Curse backbreaker. countering basically the SOS. So Kofi tried to go for the SOS, which was a great transition, by the way, in the match. So Kofi tried to go for the SOS, but then Sheamus countered into the backbreaker. Then after that, he hits another Irish Curse backbreaker. Then Kofi fights back. Sheamus plants Kofi to the mat. He sets up the bro kick, but then instead Kofi hits the SOS. We get a cover engine near fall. Kofi then goes to the top. Sheamus hits a headbutt. Then Kofi drops and lands into the knee. Sheamus proceeds to hit the bro kick, and we get a cover. And Sheamus actually beats Kofi Kingston. And then Ridge Holland proceeds to attack Woods. Sheamus takes out the table, and then Ridge Holland powerbombs Xavier Woods through the table. Where's Butch? Basically, Butch, to explain to you guys, Butch was actually on a rampage last week. No pun intended. He was on a rampage last week, but overall, do I care? Absolutely not. Honestly, again, WWE television for the past couple months, I should say after WrestleMania has been completely uninteresting. There's like only one thing that's interesting, and that is Cody Rhodes. We get a video package. For the past couple of weeks on SmackDown, you had Lacey Evans cut promos, basically building up to her return. But in these video packages, she actually talks about like her past and like, all the personal stuff, which, a lot of people do not like. But honestly, I don't mind it. This is definitely to build up Lacey Evans, and we'll see where this goes in the near future. We got the Beat the Clock Challenge. Yes, 2 matches that were absolutely ridiculously short. We have the Beat the Clock Challenge. In the first match of the Beat the Clock Challenge, we have Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi Blackheart, or Shotzi, I should say. Charlotte comes out to watch, and she is sitting ringside. And we get a takedown by Ronda. Ronda hits a fisherman suplex, and then Ronda proceeds to transitions into the ankle lock, and then Shotzi Blackheart proceeds to quit. Ronda wins in 1 minute and 41 seconds. Charlotte then proceeds to cut a promo. She then puts over Ronda Rousey and says that it will be her last win for a very long time. And she proceeds to call out Aaliyah. So one of my biggest problems with this whole Beat the Clock Challenge, I mean, I understand it's to build up for the match and stuff. And you know what? At least it's something different. But at the same time, I mean, it's against Shotzi and Aaliyah. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, and nothing against both. Nothing against both. I'm just saying, like, really against Shotzi and Aaliyah? Of all those people, you choose those two. But we got Shotzi Blackheart. Oh, not Shotzi Blackheart. Bro, I keep saying Shotzi Blackheart. It's now Shotzi. We got Charlotte Flair versus Aaliyah. Both lock up. She misses a boot. Aaliyah goes for an enziguri. Charlotte then hits a clothesline. We get a bulldog by Aaliyah. Aaliyah then goes to the top, and she misses a crossbody. We get a boot by Charlotte, and then Charlotte tries to apply the figure 4, but then Charlotte gets pushed onto the outside. Then Charlotte comes back and applies the figure 4, but the clock reaches 0. And after the clock reaches 0, Aaliyah taps out. But Ronda wins the Beat the Clock Challenge, even though Charlotte made Aaliyah tap out. Ronda Rousey won the Beat the Clock Challenge. Then Charlotte is so pissed off that she goes to the Timekeeper's area. She is angry as Drew Gulak attacks him, and she hits him with the ring bell. And this has been a common occurrence for the past couple of weeks on SmackDown, in which Charlotte just absolutely just beats the shit out of Drew Gulak. But yeah, that was the SmackDown show overall. Was there anything really interesting on this show? Absolutely not. Honestly, to be honest, there's really nothing interesting on WWE programming besides like guys like Cody Rhodes and stuff. But honestly, especially SmackDown. SmackDown has absolutely fallen off a cliff, and there's really no interest in the show whatsoever. SmackDown as a show absolutely is garbage. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review. But before I get on with the AEW Rampage review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Broken Havoc podcast now available on audio platforms. My bad. I completely botched that. But the Broken Havoc podcast is now available on audio platforms. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out full-length episodes of the Broken Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, it's all available on those platforms. All right, let's get on with the Rampage review. Rampage came to us. It was a taped show. I believe SmackDown as well was a taped show. But overall, I thought Rampage was a pretty good show in my opinion. I really enjoyed what I saw on Rampage. Rampage, and I always say this on the Rampage review. One of the things I really enjoy about Rampage is that even though it's the same roster, there's still unique segments on the show that make it different from Dynamite. And we got really good matches on the show. We got the in-ring debut of Jade Cargill's baddie section, which, by the way, is absolutely awesome. We had Keith Lee versus Colton Gunn. We had the main event with Samoa Joe defending his newly won Ring of Honor TV championship, against Trent Beretta. Of course, Samoa Joe beat Minoru Suzuki for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. We had a Owen Hart Foundation qualifying match between Darby Allin and Swerve Strickland. Overall, that opening match between Darby Allin and Swerve was fantastic. I absolutely loved the match. It was great. Darby Allin, of course, got the win, but even though Swerve lost and he just came into AEW, he lost in a way that, he just didn't lose clean. He lost because of Ricky Starks, which, to me, it kind of saves Swerve in that predicament because it doesn't really make him look bad. So like they were kind of in a lose-lose situation in which, all right, we can't have Swerve lose really bad, we can't have Swerve lose in a clean way. We have to have him lose, via guys like Ricky Starks to interfere in the match, which made total sense in my opinion. But we got Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland in a qualifying match for the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. Both lock up. We get a waistlock switch by Darby Allin. Swerve then misses a kick. Darby then works on Swerve. We get an arm drag by Darby, but Swerve stands up. We get a Hurricane Rana by Swerve. Darby Allin then hits a rolling side headlock. Then Darby applies a hammerlock, but then Darby gets taken to the outside. Swerve then goes over the top. Darby hits a stunner out of nowhere. Then we get a cover by Darby and a near fall. Swerve then goes back on the outside. Then after that, Darby tries to hit a elbow suicida or a tope suicida, same thing, but then runs into a knee strike by Swerve. Then we get a running pump kick by Swerve from the apron. Then during the commercial break, Swerve is in absolute control over Darby Allin. Then once we're back, Swerve then drives the boot on Darby. Then Darby counters with a knee bar, my bad. Then Swerve fights back. Swerve then goes for a beautiful suplex after that. We get a cover and a near fall. Swerve then goes to the top and he misses a double stomp. But then out of nowhere, Darby Allin hits the one and only Code Red, a.k.a. the best finishing move in the history of professional wrestling, that being the one and only Canadian Destroyer. As always on the podcast, shout out to Petey Williams. All right, so after that, after Darby hits the Code Red, we get a cover and a near fall. Darby goes to the top and he hits a coffin drop, but then Swerve gets the knees up. Then Swerve hits a running leaping kick. We get a cover engineer fall. Swerve then picks up Darby from the apron, and he hits a suplex off the apron onto the floor, which looked absolutely devastating. Then Ricky Starks, the FTW champion, comes out from commentary, but then runs into Sting. Then Darby out of nowhere applies a heel pick and rolls Swerve up for the win. So Darby Allin advances into the tournament. This was definitely the right decision to make, mainly because of the fact that Darby Allin is one of the pillars, which still, in my opinion, I still kind of question the fact that Kyle O'Reilly actually advanced instead of Jungle Boy. I should have thought that Jungle Boy actually should have advanced in the tournament instead of Kyle O'Reilly, but whatever. But Darby advances into the tournament, and now we got guys like Samoa Joe, Adam Cole in the tournament. This is looking to be a really good tournament. It's going to be great. Shawn Spears, we get a backstage promo with Shawn Spears, and he talks about Wardlow's opponent. This one, damn, my wording is absolutely off today. He talks about Wardlow's opponent this Wednesday on Dynamite, which MJF basically teased Wardlow's opponent in that backstage interview on Dynamite this past Wednesday, and he basically stated, and you can't teach that. What comes to mind? W. Morrissey, a.k.a. Big Cass, 100%. Could you imagine if he came in with Enzo on Dynamite? I'd be absolutely marking out. But, yeah, man, he talks about Wardlow's opponent and says that he has pinnacle potential. It says, War Piggy goes to slaughter. All right. Then out of nowhere, what happens? Chris Jericho. Yes, Chris Jericho awards himself as the Sports Entertainer of the Week. Again, another little mini segment that I love on Rampage. It basically distinguishes itself from Dynamite. But then after that, what happens? Santana and Ortiz attack Chris Jericho from commentary, and it's official. We got Santana versus Chris Jericho this Wednesday on Dynamite, which I'm definitely excited about, man. Out of both Santana and Ortiz, Santana is fantastic on the microphone, and the guy is just amazing at what he does. Nothing against Ortiz, but like, bro, Santana, I feel like this match against Jericho can definitely, prove that Santana is just that damn good. But we got Jericho versus Santana this Wednesday on Dynamite. I'm definitely, this whole feud with the Jericho Appreciation Society and Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz, as I've stated on my Dynamite review, I genuinely believe this is going to be leading to a blood and guts match. But hey, it's a 5-on-3. They're definitely going to bring in Homicide and Hernandez. I genuinely see that being the case, mainly because of the fact that Santana and Ortiz and Eddie Kingston were a part of the new members of LAX back in like 2018 in Impact Wrestling. So we'll have to wait and see where this leads to. But my bet, I genuinely believe that it's going to lead to blood and guts. But yeah, after that, we got Jade Cargill, Red Velvet, and Kiera Hogan, a.k.a. Jade Cargill's baddie section. Yes, the baddie section was shown in like one of the front rows on Dynamite for the past couple of weeks, which I actually enjoyed, by the way. Like that's actually a great addition to like Jade Cargill, in my opinion. Jade Cargill 100% is a star, and she's been absolutely dominant in her TBS championship run, beating Marina Shafir in a really not so good match, in my opinion. I wasn't really as interested in that match. But we got Jade Cargill and Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan taking on Sky Blue, Trisha Dora, and Willow Nightingale. Velvet tags in. Velvet and Sky start. Sky goes straight for the attack, but then Velvet hits a kick. We got a couple of body shots in the corner on Sky by Velvet. Then she drives the boot onto the face of Sky. Then Hogan then tags in. She works on Sky. Then she misses a leg drop. We get a kick by Sky Blue. Then we get a cover by Sky, but then Velvet comes in for the save. Then Willow Nightingale comes in and takes out Velvet. Hogan and Sky then hits a double kick. Then Hogan hits a guillotine leg drop on Adora when she is the legal woman. Then Jade makes the tag. She hits a pump kick on Adora. Velvet then spears Sky Blue. Hogan then hits a shotgun drop kick on Willow. Jade then hits the Jaded on Adora, and we get a cover, and the baddie section win the match. 100% was pretty obvious for them to win. They're definitely building this mini trio right here between Jade Cargill, Red Velvet, and Kiera Hogan. And you know what? You love to see it, and I love to see it. To be quite honest with you, I feel like this is definitely, the group that can definitely elevate Red Velvet, because Red Velvet has, really, after, really, what has she been doing for these past couple months? Really, the majority of nothing. So I'm great that they added Red Velvet in this trio. Same as Kiera Hogan. I believe AEW signed Kiera Hogan a couple of months ago, which is a great signing. Of course, she was a big part of Impact Wrestling, and I believe she was a former Impact Knockouts champion with Tasha Steelz, which was definitely entertaining from the time that I watched Impact Wrestling for a little while when Kenny was the champion. But overall, man, this is just going to do really good things for both Kiera Hogan and Red Velvet. And Jade Cargill 100% is going to be a star. If not, she's already a star herself, and she is the reigning and defending TBS champion. All right, we got Swerve and Darby backstage. Swerve basically understands that, the whole distraction between Ricky Starks wasn't Darby Allin. And then Swerve stated that he's rooting for Darby in the Owen Hart tournament. Both got a fist pump after that, so that's great to see. Then after that, we got Keith Lee versus Colton Gunn, one half of the Ass Boys, and we got a bunch of Ass Boys chants during this match. But both lock up. Again, we got Ass Boy chants. We got a couple of shots to the back of Lee by Gunn. Lee then no-sells Gunn into the corner, and then he takes Gunn into the corner and then hits a double overhand chop after that. Once we're back from break, then Lee takes down Gunn to the mat. He hits multiple shoulder tackles. He hits a forearm on Gunn, and then he throws Gunn across the ring. Lee then runs into Colton, but instead lands onto Austin Gunn, who tried to make the interference. Then Lee counters Colton and picks him up, and then he hits a pump-up power slam. We get a cover by Lee, and he wins the match. Overall, great match. I don't even want to say great match. It was a short match, but Keith Lee got the win, which definitely is more important because Keith Lee needs to get some wins, and he's still in this feud with Ricky Starks and basically Powerhouse Hobbs and stuff. And he's teaming up with Swerve, which I absolutely love. All right, the Hardys backstage. Jeff Hardy is going to be wrestling Bobby Fish this Wednesday on Dynamite, which I'm definitely excited for. We haven't seen the Hardys on AEW TV. I believe they were wrestling on Dark, which I haven't seen, but It was just for them to get a couple of wins. But I'm definitely excited to see where Jeff Hardy versus Bobby Fish goes. I genuinely do see Jeff Hardy getting the win. You know, if Jeff Hardy is part of this tournament, bro, this guy's going to do some crazy shit during this tournament. And the match possibilities are insane. Could you imagine Jeff Hardy versus Darby Allin? I would love to see that match. Or Jeff Hardy versus Adam Cole. Or Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe. I mean, granted, I think we've seen Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe, but that's just me. Or Bobby Fish. You never know what can happen. Possibilities are endless when it comes to this tournament. Then Danhausen comes out. So originally I thought this was going to be a match between Hook and Danhausen, but apparently it's not. It was basically a face-off. So both face off. Danhausen basically gets scared, and then Hook wants to fight now. But what happens? Smart Mark Sterling out of nowhere. Why is he in this segment? I have no idea. But he asks the people if they want to see them fight. People say yes. But then what happens? Tony Nese comes out and he attacks both Hook and Dowsen. Hookhausen is running wild, ladies and gentlemen. And then Hook takes out Sterling. And then he takes out Tony Nese. And then Danhausen curses at Nese and Sterling. And then what happens? He faces off against Danhausen, but then leaves. So where does this lead to? We have no idea. Possibly a future match between Hook and Danhausen taking on isn't Smart Mark Sterling a wrestler? So like maybe, we can have a match between, Hook and Danhausen taking on, Sterling and Tony Nese. We'll have to wait and see. In our main event, we got Samoa Joe defending his newly won Ring of Honor Television Championship against the best friends, one half of the best friends, that being Trent Beretta. Overall, this was a great match. I absolutely loved it. Ian Riccaboni was on commentary as well. If you guys do not know who Ian Riccaboni is, Ian Riccaboni was the lead commentator for Ring of Honor for many, many, many years. So it's great to see Ian Riccaboni on commentary. We're still waiting for that future Ring of Honor weekly show. What they're doing is they're basically doing a lot of angles for Ring of Honor, and they're having a lot of Ring of Honor representation and having the titles be on the line on AEW TV before they get the Ring of Honor weekly show, which we do not know at all when that show is going to start. We don't even know the network or possibly streaming service it's going to be ending on. But the beginning of the match starts. Of course, we have the Code of Honor applied. Both lock up. We get a side headlock by Trent. We get a furious shoulder tackle by Joe. We get a couple of right hands by Joe into the corner. Joe goes for a couple of chops, and then he sends Trent into the corner after that. Then Trent goes to the outside. Trent then goes to the apron when Joe tries to hit the elbow suicida. We get a running kick by Trent. Trent then proceeds to hit a beautiful moonsault after that. Joe goes for a chop again. Then he tries to hit, that being Trent Beretta, tries to hit a tornado DDT, but then Joe counters into a boot. Once we're back from break, Joe tries to hit a powerbomb, but then Trent counters into a dropkick. We get a sliding dropkick by Trent. Trent then goes to the top. We get a crossbody by Trent on Joe onto the outside. Then we get a chop by Trent again. Then after that, we get a couple of forearms by Trent. Trent hits a backdrop suplex on Joe. We get a tornado DDT finally hit by Trent Beretta. We get a cover into near fall. Then Joe picks up Trent and hits a powerbomb. He proceeds to apply the STF submission. Trent then gets his foot onto the bottom rope. We get an overhand chop by Trent. Then Trent then gets taken down. Joe later wants to go over the muscle buster, but then Trent escapes into a roll-up. We get a near fall. Joe then later hits the Uranagi, and then he chokes out Trent. Joe then retains the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, but then after that, Tony Schiavone interviews Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is happy as hell, and then Joe is happy, but then what happens? Jay Lethal comes out with Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh. Orange Cassidy is right in front of Satnam Singh, and he puts his hands in his pockets, but then out of nowhere, Sanjay Dutt attacks Best Friends and everybody else. And Jay Lethal and Joe brawl, and then the show ends. So overall thoughts, this feud between Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal has ended. Where do I see this going? Possible match at Double or Nothing. We'll have to wait and see. But a lot of people, the feud is not bad. A lot of people hated the debut of Satnam Sting, and honestly, I have to agree, man. That debut was absolutely horrible. But like the showing that Satnam Singh had wasn't as bad, but hopefully he's not wrestling in a ring anytime soon. But like he's just used as a muscle for both Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal. But that was Rampage. Overall thoughts on Rampage? I thought Rampage was a pretty good show in my opinion. I really enjoyed what I saw, and also out of both shows, Rampage was the much better show in my opinion. I genuinely enjoyed Rampage more than I did SmackDown. Like, I felt like I was torturing myself watching SmackDown, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, that was my SmackDown and Rampage review from April 29th, 2022. As always, please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Broken Havoc podcast. And as always, it is Broken Havoc signing out.